If you've listened to this podcast at all this offseason, you know that I love T. Higgins. I love T. Higgins so much that I'm saying he will outscore Jamar Chase in more of their week-to-week matchups, meaning each week pit their scores against each other. T. Higgins is going to have more where he outscores Jamar Chase. I realize that's a stupid way of saying it, so I just want to clarify.
No, I think that makes perfect sense.
Perhaps Jamar Chase has a couple of really big games that inflate his stats. And maybe at the end of the season, he looks better than T. Higgins. Maybe. I don't even think that's true. But if we're just looking at them head-to-head, week-to-week, there is nobody that I would rather have almost altogether than T. Higgins. Like he's so close to being in my top 3 this year for wide receivers overall. It's insane. And Jamar Chase is that guy for a lot of people.
Yeah. So what you're saying is T. Higgins is going to be the more consistent receiver that you can count on in that offense.
Absolutely. And I still think that his ceiling is incredible. It might just not be 60 points in a game like Jamar Chase had that one game last year. You know, if you're banking on that or want that, maybe you can't get that from T. Higgins.
No.
You also probably can't get that from Jamar Chase again this year, but who knows? Things could be crazy. I looked to last year, and there was a couple of really big turning moments. And T. Higgins, about halfway through the season, started to collect more targets than Chase, started to outperform Chase in basically every level. It was just that he didn't blow up as often. And people are left with Jamar Chase's end-of-year finishes, which were amazing. And they forget that he actually busted quite a lot once T. Higgins started to come back on. Now, we've talked about this previously, that maybe you think Jamar Chase just sort of got worn down. He'd been out of football. He wasn't playing as often, right? He hadn't been playing as often. So
I had a whole thing ready, and
it's Groundhog Day, Dustin. We've already had this discussion, probably like on that episode where we talked about the Bengals, if I'm not mistaken. But I understand that. I understand that. I'm not willing to put my confidence that he was just worn down. I saw T. Higgins take strides up. That was just, you saw him playing as a decoy in a lot of games almost to start the season. Kind of how AJ Green used to when he was always hurt. And AJ Green would go out there and you're like, can I start him? Because I need to see him on the active list and then I'll start him. But then you were bummed because he was healthy, quote unquote, but they weren't throwing the ball to him. And that's what I say a lot from T. Higgins.
Here's what I think it is, Jake. So Chase and Burrow were teammates at LSU. So I think Burrow just forgot.
I hadn't heard that. That's incredible.
I think that Burrow just kind of forgot that T. Higgins was a elite wide receiver that he also had on his team. She's like, hey, I'm going to throw it to my buddy. And then he's like, oh yeah, I got this other guy over here who's also super fucking good. I should throw him the ball too.
Maybe that's what happened. He just forgot. He's like, oh, he had stars in his eyes for Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And then it worked out for like those first couple of games real well.
Yeah.
And then when it stopped working out a little bit less, he's like, well, what the fuck do I do? And he's like, oh, right. Here's this stud who was also hampered by injury again. I can't belabor that enough. Him and his quarterback both hampered by injury. But yeah, I'm all in on T. Higgins. I'm drafting T. Higgins ahead of Jamar Chase if I had to. Straight up, you don't have to do that, luckily, so you can take the value.
That's right. Yep. All right, let's finish it off here. Now, this one, Jake, I've got to modify slightly just based on the news today. I would have been disappointed if news broke if this happened tomorrow. I would have been disappointed and would have kind of nullified the bold prediction. But so I'm going to modify it just slightly. So this is my original, and I'll tell you how I'm going to modify it. So my original bold prediction was that the Jaguars wide receiver core of Kirk, Shenault, Jones, and Jones Jr., so 4, will outscore the Broncos wide receiver core of Sutton, Judy, Patrick, and Hamler. Obviously, with Patrick's injury, he's out for the season. So I will still stick with Sutton, Judy, and Hamler as the 3 wide receivers, okay? So I'm going to go from 4 to 3. Now, this is what I was thinking for the Jags.
Okay.
I'll say Kirk, Shenault, and Jones Jr. I will
Okay,
zop Zay
clarify for
Jones.
me and for the listener. Yes, thank you. Because when you said Jones and Jones Jr., I could not immediately think of who the
Zay
other
Jones,
Jones
yeah,
was.
Zay Jones, Marvin Jones Jr.
Okay, fair enough. So who are you keeping out of the three here for this?
Marvin Jones
Love
Jr.,
it.
Laviska Shenault, and Christian Kirk.
All right.
Okay.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, I feel like the Jags offense is really, and this is piggybacking off of what you said, kind of. You know, if you're expecting Trevor Lawrence to have that reset this year and do really well, obviously the offense is taking a step forward. Obviously,
Yes.
we're like high on the Jags offense, taking a big step forward. If I've got ETN top 5, I got the wide receivers going to do well. You've got Lawrence taking a step forward. We're just really high on this Jags offense, really turning things around this year.
I don't think
Jesus,
I'm quite as high as you are, but yes, we are definitely high on this offense.
yes. So yeah, I know everyone's all excited about Russell Wilson and this offense in Denver, which you very well should be, but I got a feeling, and it's bold.
It's real bold.
Mhm.
I actually was just about to type this into the chat to Mr. Scampers. Mr. Scampers, thank you for sticking with us here, by the way. You've had
Mhm.
wonderful contributions in the chat. I just said Marvin Jones top 25 finish.
Woo!
Do you agree that that is in the realm of possibility for Marvin Jones? And in the realm, meaning more likely than not.
Is it in the realm? Yes, it is.
Where would
Yes.
you? I mean, so you've got this three, you've got this trio, you've got Kirk,
Mhm.
Chenault, and Marvin Jones. Who, in your opinion, leads the depth chart there?
I think it's going to be Kirk because they paid him a crap ton of money, so they're going to feed him the ball. So, but that doesn't mean he's going to be like top 12 or top 24. Like he could finish. Well, he could finish as like number 24, and Jones could finish as 25. It could be a more even split in that offense than what we think, but I do think target share wise, Kirk is going to get the majority of it on that offense.
That makes me sad because I wanted Marvin Jones so badly last year, and he
Oh,
came out swinging. He looked
mm-hmm,
good for those first few weeks, and he actually won you some weeks, and then he really tapered off.
mm-hmm.
And I'm still bullish on him in best ball. Probably not, maybe as much in redraft. I'm going to clarify my statement, by the way, that I typed in before. Marvin Jones, top 25 finish first 8 weeks. And then it's anybody's ball game. But those first 8
Okay.
weeks are going to be amazing for him, I think. This is very bold
Mm-hmm.
because I think you and I both love Cortland Sutton.
Love him.
It's really just at this point, then maybe a disbelief in Judy.
Yeah, and maybe Russ just doesn't cook as much as we're thinking he's going to. Maybe they are a little bit more run heavy on that offense and rely on those 2 stud running backs they have.
Yeah.
Could be a thing.
Yeah. It's possible. I don't know. I'm projecting big things for Denver, so this is going to be a really interesting one to see shake out.